there is one question that you keep thinking and it is costing you your success. You can come up with a goal that you want to set or a new business idea that you want to start. So you get excited, you might write it down or take a mental note of it, but you really start to build this excitement of, okay, I have this goal, I have this business idea, I have this new thing I want to do. And you start to say, okay, well, it's going to be exciting if I can do this time is going to work. And then all of a sudden, this one question comes up and it kills everything. It destroys all of your hopes and your excitement about what it is that you wanted to achieve. So all that hope, all that excitement comes crumbling to the ground when you ask yourself this one question. What if it doesn't work? Why in the world did you have to ask that question? Because you could have been on your way to success. You could have been moving forward. You could have been taking action. You could have been executing on a path that would allow you to achieve the success. But that one question defeated you before you ever even started. And when you ask yourself this question, what if it doesn't work? Then you start to think of everything that will go wrong, everyone that's not going to support you, every reason why you're not good enough to make it happen, what everyone is going to say that doesn't support you, how people are going to discourage you from ever even getting started. And so that question made you decide that you're just going to settle. You're just going to stay where you are. You're going to focus on where you are right here, right now. You're not going to go after the goal. You're not going to start the business. You're just going to settle. You're going to stay where you are because what if it doesn't work? So instead of exploring the unknown, you stick with the unknown because what if it doesn't work? Well, the good thing is I'm going to show you and tell you how to get over that question, like how to just remove that question from your vocabulary, how to get over it, what you should ask yourself instead so that you can achieve all of your goals. My name is Maya Wilson, and I'm a speaker and a strategist that helps women turn their ideas into execution. I help women that have visions and ideas actually create a strategy that would allow them to execute and achieve their goals. So this question has not only been a question that I faced and I've had to overcome, but I've had to help other people overcome it as well. And every time this question comes to me, I'm always triggered. So the questions and the tips I'm going to give you today are going to help you kill that question and keep it moving so you can achieve all of your dreams, your goals, and be able to execute consistently. So if you don't mind, please share this broadcast out and definitely invite some other people so that they can come on, they can get these nuggets of how you can kill the question of what if it doesn't work. And as always, feel free to engage, ask your questions because I will answer them and I'll make sure I respond to everyone. So when the question comes up for me and it's always around what if it doesn't work, it reminds me of a situation. It reminds me of a story where there was a man who loved people so much, and he saw the defeat, the attacks, the oppression that the people were experiencing, and he said, I have to come up with this plan, this idea, this strategy that will relieve these people, that will allow them to live in victory, that would allow them to be able to accomplish their goals and gain eternity, to live a life that's full of freedom and love and peace and joy. So the plan, excuse me, and the idea that he came up with actually involved death. So his idea was, okay, I'm going to have to die in order for this goal to be accomplished. And now I'm pretty sure that anything that you're facing or I've ever faced has never come to the result of, okay, I'm going to have to die in order for this to be accomplished. But this man, his love was so great and his plan and his idea was so great that he said, okay, I'm going to have to die in order for this thing to really be turned around. And so he went through the process. He actually died. And for those of you who know who I'm talking about, fortunately, he got back up. But like I said, nothing that we're facing comes to the point of death. And so what I learned from him and from his story is that it's going to work. And when someone or something comes in your head and says, what if it doesn't work? You need to respond and say, well, it's not going to work. Not for everybody, because we all know that in the end, not everybody takes advantage of his death. Not everybody gets to partake of what he did for us. Not everybody gets to do that, but the people who choose it will. So when it comes to life, when it comes to business, when it comes to implementing your ideas, you have to understand and go into it with the mindset of it's not going to work. Not for everybody, but it will work. It will work. So what are some of the questions you need to ask yourself instead when things start to come up and says, well, what if it doesn't work? The first thing that you need to ask yourself is, what if it does work? Or another way of saying it is, what will happen when it works? Because when you start to focus on, well, what if it does work? What will happen when it does work? Then it starts to set your mind into a pattern of, okay, I need to be prepared for this to happen. I need to be prepared for that to happen. But when you ask yourself, what if it doesn't work? Then you start to see everything that tells you it's not going to work. I mean, our brains are programmed and trained in such a manner that whatever you believe, you're going to find the evidence to support it. So if you think something is not going to work, everything that you see and everything that you find is going to support the fact that, oh, it's not going to work. But if you believe and you say, oh, it will work, then your brain is going to see and find evidence of everything that, oh, yes, this will work. I'm pretty sure you've heard of the scenario when people say, when you buy a new car, a lot of times, a lot of times you never see that car on the road. But all of a sudden, when you buy the car, you see all of the cars that are just you bought. It's because you now have something that is familiar to you. Your car, your vehicle is now familiar to you. So you're going to see things that are familiar that allow you to attach onto it. And the same thing works when it comes to business, when it comes to strategy, when it comes to executing on ideas. You have to put something in your mind, in your brain, that will say, what if it works? And then you're going to automatically find all the evidence and support that you need for it to work. So again, the first question is you ask, what if it does work? Or what will happen when it does work? The second question you're going to ask yourself is, what does it take to make it work? So instead of getting in the roadblock of, oh my goodness, like, what if it doesn't work and failure this and all, like when you ask yourself, what does it take to make it work? Then you start being able to come up with action and strategy that will allow you to walk on the path. It will allow you to execute and come up with a plan that is going to be effective to achieve your goal. So once you ask yourself, what does it take to make it work? You start discovering the how to, like, how do I make this work? The third thing you're going to ask yourself is, how can I make it work for the maximum amount of people? Now, whatever it is you want to do, whatever business you want to start, whatever nonprofit, whatever goal you have that you want to achieve, it is going to, now, I don't know if anything, even if it's a service or a product that is not geared toward a person, like an end person being the consumer. So unless you have some random idea that I have no idea about, everything that you offer, everything that you create, everything that you do is going to revolve around other people. So when you start to say, how can I make it work for the maximum amount of people, knowing that it's going to work for at least one person, even at the most flawed state, when you create something, it is going to work for at least one person. So when you start to ask yourself, how can I make it work for the maximum amount of people, then you start to really get into the, how can I maximize the effectiveness of what it is I want to do? How can I ensure that I move beyond one person to 10 people to 100 to 1,000? How can I make sure that it works for the maximum amount of people? And again, this keeps you moving forward. It keeps you in action. It keeps the energy and the excitement so you can keep moving forward in order to achieve the goal. The fourth question that you're going to ask yourself is, what do I want to learn from the process? Because many people have a definition of failure. And for me personally, I think failure is anytime you fail to learn something. Like, to me, that's what failure is. So anytime that you set out to do something, and for me personally, when I set out to do something, if I don't learn from it, then I would consider it a failure. But when it comes down to setting a goal and maybe not achieving the goal, or, oh, I want to do XYZ, and maybe that didn't work out the way that I had planned or imagined, if I'm able to learn something from it, I'm successful. So you can define failure however you want, but the bottom line is, whether you fail or whether you succeed, as long as you learn something, you are still benefiting. You are still gaining something. You can still keep moving forward. So when you start to ask yourself, what do I want to learn from the process? You start to set goals. You start to say, okay, I want to start a business. I want to do an online business. So, excuse me, I probably need to understand, how do I market online? I want to learn how to market online. I want to understand and learn how to go live on social media. I want to understand how Google ads work. I want to learn how Facebook ads work. So when you start setting these goals of things you want to learn, then you're still moving forward, because if you learn how Facebook works, how Facebook ads work, whether or not you got a sale out of the process should be not a big deal, because you wanted to learn how something works. So even in, okay, I ran an ad, maybe as many people that I expected didn't click on it, maybe people didn't convert, maybe I didn't get a sale, and sorry if this language is going over your head. I am a tech person, so I love tech stuff too. But just know and understand that even though you didn't get the sale, or you didn't get what you thought you were going to get out of it, you now have data. And the data will teach you, okay, now I need to do this. Now I need to change that. Now I need to tweak this. So you're constantly learning and you're improving in order to carry things forward. If you know the wrong way to do something, you can always know the right way to do it. I'm a firm believer, like, I don't believe in learning things the wrong way, but if I can learn the wrong way and know, okay, not to do that, then I'm better off. Like when I'm going to learn from other people, and now I will caution you with this, when you set goals of what you want to learn, make sure that you are learning from people that will tell you everything. They'll tell you the mistakes, and they'll also tell you the how-tos, because here's the good thing about learning mistakes. You don't have to make them. So anytime that you invest in someone else's expertise, their knowledge, their years of experience, if they're not giving you their mistakes, then you're really at a disadvantage, because when you invest in someone, it's supposed to be able to collapse the time. So when you say, okay, I want to learn the correct way to market online, I want to learn the correct way to run a Facebook ad, I want to learn the correct way to do a Google ad, then you need to be able to learn also the incorrect way to do it, so that you understand, okay, well, that's what bad looks like, but this is what good looks like. Now, don't use the method of what bad looks like. Just know that this is what bad is. Avoid this at all costs and do what good looks like. Follow what good looks like, because if not, you're going to be tempted to play around and do trial and error. But if you know that that's what bad looks like, you're not going to do the trial and error of what bad looks like. You're going to implement what good looks like. So that was a completely unplanned tangent, but however, I'm pretty sure somebody needs to hear that. So the fourth question that you want to ask yourself instead is, what do I want to learn from the process? The fifth question that you want to ask is, how can I make it work better? And so when you start to go down the journey and you're saying, okay, well, how do I make it work? How do I make it work for the maximum number of people? What do I want to learn from the process? And then finally, when you get to how can I make it work better, this allows you to have innovation and improvement plans. So anytime you start executing and you say, well, okay, this particular method isn't working, but I already thought of something else that could probably make it better. Let me try that. That's what helps you keep moving forward and keep executing. Because when you have the plan and it's already kind of laid out and defined, you can easily pivot and say, okay, well, this might work better. Let me go implement it. But a lot of times what people do is they'll get started not necessarily with the full plan, not necessarily with the full strategy. They get started and then they start and stop because, oh, I hit this brick wall. I have no idea what to do. Let me sit and think about it. Let me figure some things out. Okay, let me start again, and then brick wall, let me stop. So when you have these plans of how can I make it work better, you avoid the start and stop so you can continuously execute because you have this strategy that says, well, oh, I could probably improve it this way. I could probably do that way. I can do this, I can tweak that. And you constantly move forward in order to achieve your goal. So the one question that is costing you your success is what if it doesn't work? And if you happen to ever come across that question or think that question ever again, just tell yourself, or if somebody else asks it to you, tell yourself, it's not going to work. Not for everybody, but there is somebody that is going to work for. And so what you start to ask yourself, what if it does work? Or what will happen when it works? Number two, what does it take to make it work? Number three, how can I make it work for the maximum amount of people? Number four, what do I want to learn from the process? And number five, how can I make it work better? So that is how you overcome the devastation and the frustration of what if it doesn't work. Now, excuse me, as we are approaching into 2020, if you have a goal, if you have an idea of something that you want to start, and you really just need a strategy. You need a strategy that would allow you to start and continuously execute in order to achieve that goal, then I definitely invite you to do a call with me, a free call. It's a free call, and it's simply just to understand if what I'm offering is going to be a fit for you. Now, I do like to work with a certain type of person. So simply, as I stated, this call is really just to see if my program is applicable to you and if we would be a good fit to work together. So you can take advantage of that free call by going to rebrand.ly/call with Maya. Again, that's rebrand.ly/call with Maya. On Facebook, it is linked as my website. On Instagram, it is linked in my bio. And on Periscope, we'll just have to figure that one out. But that has been the teaching for today, how to overcome the question, the success killer question of what if it doesn't work. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them. Again, if you enjoyed this, if you found some nuggets out of it, please share the broadcast. And until next time, I look forward to seeing your comments and responses.